Hello YouTube. This video will cover survivability on Excalibur, and it'll be a dedicated, trying to keep it short video that will, as simply as I can, explain the way to survive on Excalibur. I won't even bother showing gameplay. If you want to see gameplay of me surviving using all of the things I'm describing, you can go back to my earliest video, because these are things I've been following since at minimum 1999, when Slash Dash got shield immunity, which is, spoiler alert, one of the biggest ways to survive on Excalibur. So to get right into it, your number one way that is required to survive on Excalibur to any real level, sure, you can get away with it, but let's be honest, this is required, is Brief Respite. So you run Brief Respite, and the combination of Brief Respite and ability casts, including Slash Dash, is how you're going to stay alive. Now, Slash Dash, keep in mind, Slash Dash is a offensive ability, it's a defensive ability, and it's a mobility ability. So it's probably his best ability overall, because it pretty much does everything. If you were really wanting to, you could survive just based on Brief Respite and proper use of Slash Dash. Now, is that reasonable to say? No. So then you get into the extra layers of that. So what I generally recommend is obviously Brief Respite and clever use of Slash Dash, number one. Number two is having some sort of reliable source of healing. And there's a few ways to do that. I'll cover that. So the way I've done it is a sort of multi-prong approach. So you have one Tau Forge of this Violet Equilibrium Shard. So whenever you pick up energy orbs, then you get health in this context, and then you also just pick up energy or health orbs and get health that way. Focus School or an Operator Amp, and then the other way is through something like Hunter Recovery. You could also use Synth Deconstruct as a way to get more health orbs. So the combination of something on there, and I don't recommend using it on like Exalted Blade and relying on that. It is a way you could do it, but I think the value of adding, like taking up a mod slot just to get healing return, really isn't worth it. Like, you know, what do you sacrifice to get this on here? Pretty much every build you're sacrificing something that isn't worth it, and you're better off just outsourcing that healing to something else. Okay, so going back, Brief Respite and clever use of Slash Dash, some mechanism of reliable healing to keep your health topped off. The next layer is a potentially two-prong approach or an or statement, which is potentially one mod slot that is a defensive slot. So in this case, I show Umbral Vitality, but this isn't the entire approach, because in combination with Warcry, we get a good amount of armor on top of our health to be able to health tank quite often. Like, not like health tank. You have to kind of think of this more from, I'm not shield tanking or health tanking or relying on immunity. You're sort of using a multi-prong approach. It's really a less abusive way of using defensive mechanics in the game. So this mod slot in most of my builds, and in a lot of my builds, there's a defensive or a variable mod slot. A lot of the times, if I have Transient Fortitude in the build, I'm sacrificing my defensive mod slot in order to fit it. And there's a lot of options here. So the obvious one I'm showing here, and this is what I would probably just recommend baseline for Umbra, if you're running my recommended setup, which is 2 Umbral Polarity, and then at least like 1 Omni, because then that affords you to be able to do this without ruining your mod capacity or literally not having enough for some builds. So that's what I recommend. So then this makes it easy because you get extra strength from this, versus if you were running something like Adaptation, where you don't get that extra strength. And if you're running like Archon Vitality, which this isn't worth it, even in my Afflictions build, like sure, you get an extra stack of heat, but what's the difference between 7 stacks of heat and 8 stacks of heat? Because this doesn't double up very little, if you even have a heat on the target, since it's not a heat build. Really just not worth it. That's why you actually see on my Prime build, I actually run Primed Vigor, because I find this very good, surprisingly good. Like, it's been kind of memed on as a pretty bad mod overall. It should probably be 100% instead of 75%, but, or maybe even like 90%, but still, even at 75% for both, it's actually pretty good. I think it should at least be 90%, you know, half of shield capacity or health capacity for this fully ranked up, but I digress. The other options, like if you like Rolling Guard, then go for it. If that's what you prefer, then that's what you gotten good at, go for it. So that's kind of the flexibility that is something like my Afflictions builds affords, which I mentioned in my my most recent Afflictions Warcry build, that you get one extra mod slot because you're not forced to run Chromatic Blade. So, going back again, some reliable source of shield regeneration being mostly Brief Respite, because all the other options are just really not worth it to mod in. And clever use of Slash Dash, some sort of reliable health, potentially extra health and shields or armor. And then the last option, and this is the one that's going to really seal the deal, reliable, drop dead reliable, and that's using just Vazarin. You can use Vazarin or Unaru for their immunities. A lot of people might not know that Reinforced Bond exists, or Reinforced Return. And then obviously most people have been aware of Protective Sling for quite a while as a reliable source of defensiveness. Now there's plenty of ways that you can proc this. I'm not going to show the gameplay for that. I probably demonstrate this in every single one of my videos since I usually use Prime and Vazarin. To put it simply, you don't need Prime Sure-Footed when you're running Vazarin or Unaru, which in this case, if you're running either or, then you've solved the problem. So that's where really where it comes down to. Avoiding damage when you can, and then proactively Vazarin Void Slinging when you see some sort of damage approaching, or when you proc Shield Gate. So probably warranted having some gameplay in the future where I go through it and I discuss what's going on, but potentially leave that for a later time. So if there are any questions about survivability that still exists, something that I didn't cover, feel free to comment below and I'll answer those questions as best I can through text. So thanks for watching.